Anytime? Okay. Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. I'd just like to start off and say that we've got very good representation from all the municipalities in the Rainy River District, and we chartered a flight to come down this morning, and we feel that this issue that we're talking about is one of the most important issues, or is the most important issue that we've ever been faced with in our in our municipality. And I'd like to thank you all for attending. I am Roy Avis, the Mayor of the town of Fort Frances. And I'd particularly like to thank Chief Sarah Mainville, Chief Patricia Big George, Reeve Gary Gansby, Reeve Mike Hammond, Reeve Peter Van Heist for all coming down and helping us throughout this process. This journey's been a long journey. It's been over 5 years. And it's it's one that we really have to get our handle on. I would like to say that most people don't know where Fort Frances, the Rainy River District, is when we get in this area, so I'd just like to say that it's 1,800 kilometers at the end of Yonge Street, which is, or Highway 11, and that's where the Yonge Street ends in the province of Ontario. I'm here today to tell you the story of our community and what could result in the loss of 1,000 jobs and a $100 million investment in our community, or in this province. The Rainy River District has survived and grown as a result of its location in the crossroot forest. In the past 10 years, 8 paper machines have closed in our area. Newsprint mills and pulp mills have struggled in the past decade, and as you know, books and newsprint is an increasingly less demand. In 2013, the global effects caught up with us in Fort Frances, and the mill that until recently employed directly and indirectly most of the population of our community closed permanently. Through the work of our town specialists, we were connected with Expira Specialty Papers, a growing and dynamic and innovative company who showed a strong interest in acquiring the Fort Frances facility assets from Resolute Forest Products. This would result in the creation of 1,000 jobs, which is 200 direct jobs and 800 indirect related to the operations. Expira was ready to invest $100 million in Ontario to restart the pulp mill. However, last week, talks between Expira and the Ministry and Resolute Forest Products broke down. We believe Resolute's failure to reach a deal with Expira lies solely at the feet of the government of the province of Ontario. While they have been assuring us that they are committed to supporting the sale, the Minister has allowed forest management systems to stagnate and has yet to offer to assist with the heating of the asset and allow time for the sale to see completion. Our communities are questioning if either the government or Resolute were actually bargaining in good faith. Given this, there is far more than enough harvestable wood in the crossroot forest to reopen a pulp mill in Fort Frances. The Premier has the capacity to make this deal happen. Ministerial orders can be enacted to reallocate the wood for the ultimate benefit of all municipalities and First Nations communities of the Rainy River District. We have roughly 3 weeks until winter freezes the mill assets, and those 1,000 jobs and $100 million are lost in our communities and in the district forever. And I'd like to just turn it over at this time to Chief Sarah Mainville. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mayor Avis. Buju, Baba Misi Megizikwe, Indigenous Cause, Makwadodem, Kuchching, Nindoji. My name is Sarah Mainville, recently elected as Chief of Kuchching First Nation. For people in the district of Rainy River, you know that we're the neighbors of the town of Fort Frances. And the town of Fort Frances has largely been benefiting from a craft mill at Kuchching Falls for over a century. And the craft mill is something that has fed the district for quite some time now, and until the untimely closing by Resolute Forest. And it is disappointing. It's disappointing because at this point in time, I think that the district has worked very hard to get this possibility, this opportunity in front of us for good jobs, a better corporate citizen in Experience Specialty. Experience Specialty, if you do not know, has worked within the district and particularly has worked with the First Nations in the district to get to know us, to work with us, to develop a relationship. And that's the type of corporate citizenship that we expect as Anishinaabe of Treaty 3. Treaty 3 is a treaty that covers northwestern Ontario. It actually grew out of Couchiching Falls. Couchiching Falls used to be an abundant fishery where we would gather and meet, and that's how Treaty 3 came to be, negotiations with Euro-Canadians. It's a symbol of sustainability, these falls. And the craft mill being idle is a symbol of Ontario neglect of our shared economy. And it's disappointing that we've heard from the Ontario government under Premier McGuinty that we were going to be having real discussions on resource benefits. And there won't be resource benefits if Ontario government doesn't have better public policy on bringing investment into Ontario and bringing good investors into Ontario like Experience Specialty. Wood, hydro, these have always supported the province of Ontario. Northwestern Ontario has done more than its fair share of supporting the Ontario economy. So we expect a little bit back, and certainly the First Nations and Treaty 3 do as well. Couchiching is ready to train our youth. We've been working with Exper on different avenues and different opportunities for the long-term success of this operation. We're very happy with the operational production of this craft mill, the way that it will support it. It's not based on an old economy, it's based on a new economy, it's based on the future. And that's the type of jobs we need in Northern Ontario. Trades and skills, the youth to be involved in using their hands and using knowledge and gaining mentorship with people from the town of Fort Frances and other people across the district. There certainly is a best practice here, and we've seen this in other Northern Ontario mills where the province has fostered investment. So we're looking for the Ontario government to step in. We know that this company is better at union relations, better at First Nations relationships, looking at really good economic policies relating to procurement. They're looking at Aboriginal procurement policy. These things are all foreign to the past operator of the craft mill. They were not interested in our economy. They were mostly interested in the bottom line. We're looking at a better relationship with industry, a collaborative one that is focused on enhanced sustainability, particularly of forest resources that has sustained us all through the century. Long-term planning and commitment is important, and we're hoping to have a good partner in the Ontario government in doing so. And of course, environmental longevity. The Anishinaabe have been planted in the Treaty 3 territory with resources that will sustain us all. And that was the promise of Treaty 3, and I hope that we can meet that promise. Miigwech.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Sarah, Chief Sarah. And I'd like to now call on Myra Donaldson to say a few words. Myra?
My name is Myra Donaldson. I am 13 years old. I go to school in Fort Frances. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to be a page here at Queen's Park last spring, but I'm back today for a much more important reason. Most of my family grew up in northwestern Ontario. Lots of my classmates don't have a dad at home anymore, and they hardly see them. When an industry in a small isolated town shuts down, it's not like in a city where the next job is just down the street. It's a whole new life away. One of my best friends and her family recently had to move to Alberta to find work. Many of my friends' families work in the forestry industry. Forestry jobs are very important in our community. The forest must belong to the people of our community so people can have jobs and families can be together. I am here today to ask the Premier to take action and save my hometown.
Excuse me. Thank you, Myra. That's, in closing, we know that the investment is still possible if Premier Wynne is willing. Call Expira. We would like her to call Expira and ensure them that the government of Ontario want their investment in our province. Sign an order in council reassigning the Forest Management Authority and associated wood rights for the Crossroot Forest. While a new management arrangement is being negotiated, and find assurance that the mill asset will be heated until a deal is brokered. Right now, we feel very, very strongly that the government has to interject at this time. So, is there any other questions that anybody has? Seeing none? Pardon me? Yes. And I'd just like to ask Chief if you'd like to say something, Chief.
Bonjour, my English name is Patricia Big George. I'm Chief of Anishinaabe of Nalgashing, which is about 140 kilometers northwest of Fort Francis, of where this mill is. And we do the registration for Big, we used to be called Big Island. The registration for Big Island is just slightly over 400, and we only have maybe about 140 living on the reserve, and the rest are, they live off the reserve, but a good majority lives in Fort Francis. And I would have to say that on behalf of our off-reserve people, it would definitely benefit the, if Expira were allowed to buy the mill there in Fort Francis. And it would be sad to see these 1,000 jobs go, and I think we should keep the 1,000 jobs in the community and allow that $100 million investment from Expira to stay within the community, because right now our economy is dwindling heavily. I would definitely say it's dwindling heavily, and I think it's best that that we move forward on sustainable partnership for the economic activity within the Rainy River District. Miigwech.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. It's been it's our pleasure to be here, and we look forward to having some input from the government at this time to make sure that this mill does not close in Fort Francis.